for Vince Carter.
Scotty B going to work in the paint. Hello!
Eastern Conference Final, new NBA champion, and it's a team from Toronto, Canada. We, the North, are now we, the champions.
What is going on, Raptors Nation? Luca here, back with the Raptors Nation podcast. Hope you're all doing well. The Toronto Raptors begin their season with a W. Wouldn't have it any other way. And in today's pod, we're going to be talking about the Raptors' first win of the season, more in depth. We're going to be taking a look at Dennis Schroder and his impressive debut with the Raptors. And then finally, talk about Scottie Barnes' defensive impact, because boy, oh boy, can he be ever so scary on that end of the court. Before we dive right into it, please do me a solid. Hit a like on the video. It helps it a ton. And please subscribe to the channel for more content just like this, as the Raptors Nation podcast comes to you every single Thursday as we talk about the week that was. But obviously, this is going to be a very special edition of the pod because the Raptors played on Wednesday. So whenever we get a game that falls on Wednesday, which will be quite a bit this season, we'll do more of a designated show towards the game that just happened. Just makes more sense. But also, you know, looking back at the week that was. So if you are listening to this, by the way, on Apple iTunes or Spotify, please leave us a 5-star review because it does help it a ton. But without further ado, let's get into this thing. The Raptors beat the Timberwolves, and they tame the T-Wolves, as the Raptors' defense in this one, first and foremost, really impressed me. Now, I want to start by saying this. I wasn't concerned about the Raptors' defense coming into the season. I thought it was going to be really good because you look at the Raptors' personnel, they got a lot of very solid defenders. So when it came to their defense, I didn't have much concern. And when you look at what this defense is capable of doing, like, they have a chance of being one of the top defenses in the NBA. You look at the job the Raptors did, particularly on Anthony Edwards. I mean, Anthony Edwards, he did score 26 points, but it took him 27 shots to get there. He was 8 of 27 from the field. He struggled in this one. And, you know, you got to credit the job that OG Anunoby. So Anthony Edwards, when guarded by OG Anunoby, 1 of 10 from the field, 10%. And then when Karl Anthony Towns was guarded by Scottie Barnes, he was 2 of 9 from the field, 22%. And speaking of Towns, he did not have a good game as well. He shot at 8 of 25 from the field. So those are the two best Timberwolves players. The Raptors did a good job of containing them. And Minnesota just couldn't get anything going. Like I said, they very much struggled from the field. And when the Raptors needed to buckle down defensively, especially in that second half, in the fourth quarter to close this one out, they did just that. And this defense has a chance of being really, really good. And Scottie Barnes actually said this. This is courtesy of Eric Kareen. Scottie Barnes on his defense, he said, "We should be top 5 with all of these guys with long-ass arms." Quite the quote. But, I mean, he's not lying. You look at the Raptors, they're a big team. They're a long team. You know, they're able to disrupt you. They're able to make you uncomfortable. And I'm telling you, I was watching this Timberwolves team, and this is not a bad team. Like, this is supposed to be a team that is looking to take the next step. And the Raptors made them look pretty mediocre. And again, they could not get anything going. A lot of these T-Wolves players, they struggle from the field. I mean, all of them struggle from the field. The only guy really who shot it better, or at least 50%, was Rudy Gobert, 6 of 12. Outside of Rudy, everybody was struggling to get a shot down for Minnesota. So you got to credit the defensive effort that the Raptors had in this game. Their energy, I thought, was really good. Obviously, there's going to be some things to clean up on, you know, the turnovers, the little mistakes. But if this defense can be one of the Raptors' calling cards going into this season, I think that's going to be a huge thing that they can fall back on, because this was a game in which the Raptors got poor shooting nights from Pascal Siakam, Scottie Barnes. Their bench was a non-factor, and the Raptors were still able to sneak out a win against, like I said, a pretty solid Timberwolves team to begin their season. I know the Timberwolves haven't won in Toronto for what feels like forever, but still, this was a game that could have gotten out of hand, but the Raptors stayed right there. So that's on defense. Let's talk about offensively. This Raptors team, like I said, they did not have the best of nights when it came to shooting the basketball. Once again, got off to a slow start, couldn't hit a shot in that first quarter. Pascal Siakam struggled from the field, was 3 of 5 from deep. And then Scottie Barnes, he struggled from the field as well, 6 of 16 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3. But what separates these guys from most is even when they're not getting their shots to fall, they impact the game in so many other ways. So you look at Siakam, still able to get 6 assists, 7 rebounds. Like I said, he was able to hit that 3 ball. And Scottie Barnes, I mean, he stuffed the stat sheet. He did finish with 17, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and then what really jumps out to you, the 5 block shots. Scottie Barnes, 5 blocks. This is a sign of things to come. Scottie Barnes, we talk about the leap that he's going to make offensively, especially if he gets that shot to fall consistently. Shot wasn't there in game 1. You live with that. But I think you're always going to get a great defensive effort from Scottie Barnes through and through. And we saw it in this game. And there's a reason why Darko Rajakovic gave him super high praise the other day, saying that he believes one day Scottie Barnes can become the defensive player of the year. Scottie Barnes has so much untapped potential on that side, such a high defensive ceiling that when he's dialed in, he is a nightmare on that end. I mean, who the hell is going to want to go at Scottie? And we saw him disrupt Karl Anthony Towns. OG Anunoby is going to get the other team's best player. But Scottie Barnes is also going to be asked to guard that other team's big. And I mean, you know, if that other team's big so happens to be one of their best players, Scottie Barnes did a great job of containing a Karl Anthony Towns. And I think Scottie Barnes is going to continue to really dial in on that end. So it was great to see Scottie Barnes in 37 minutes of action put together this stat line. Again, that shot wasn't falling. He did have 4 turnovers, but he can do so many other things that even if he doesn't get a shot to fall, he's going to have a big impact in games. Now, let's talk about guys who really shouldered the offensive load in this one. I thought OG Anunoby was incredibly solid in this one. 20 points, 6 rebounds, 7 of 13 from the field, 4 and 9 from 3. If OG Anunoby doesn't show up in the first half, as he did, this game probably gets away from the Raptors. Like OG Anunoby did a good job of hitting shots when it seemed like nobody was able to get a shot to fall. And this is what I'm looking at when it comes to OG Anunoby. I want to see OG Anunoby get his offense going and increase that scoring average. Another guy who really, really impressed, and we're going to get to it in a minute here in more detail, Dennis Schroder. I gave him the game ball in my post-game live last night. Go check it out if you haven't already. 22 points, 8 of 17 from the field, 4 of 8 from 3. Who said Dennis Schroder can't hit the 3? 7 assists. Like Dennis Schroder, if he gives you this consistently on offense, man, oh man, did the Raptors ever get a sweet deal in him? And then when you look at the Raptors bench, it wasn't good. Achua, I mean, he was good early with OG. I thought OG and Achua really carried that load. Like I said, if OG's not hitting his shots, Achua doesn't come in with his high energy on both ends. This game could have maybe gotten away from the Raptors. So Achua did have 8 points, 4 and 9 from the field, did most of his damage in the first half. But outside of Achua, yeah, the bench didn't really get going at all. McDaniel's goose egg. Flynn only had 3 points. He continues to struggle, 4 personal fouls. You want to see Flynn really get it right here. He's been anointed as the team's backup point guard, so that should definitely motivate him with his new role going into the season. Gary Trent Jr., we expect him to be much better than this. 2 of 8, 1 of 4 from 3. And then the biggest surprise from off the bench, we all thought the 10th guy was going to be Chris Boucher when we saw the first 4 guys check in from off the bench. But Grady Dick ends up being the Raptors' 10th guy. And he only got 2 minutes. So it's not like Grady Dick got a whole ton of minutes. But very interesting with the decision. And, apparently Darko talked to Boucher and he was the ultimate professional about it. And he said, he was going to do what he did. But, we're going to see where this leaves Chris Boucher in the rotation. And as we get closer, I know we're so far away from even talking about this, but, could Chris Boucher be a guy on the trading block when we get to that time? Because we're going to see if it was just a matter of, the Raptors not wanting to use Boucher when going up against, these Twin Towers. But at the same time, I mean, you look at Boucher, he's been such a staple of this Raptors second unit. High energy guy, able to do it on both ends. you could use his length when going up against a big team like Minnesota. But the fact of the matter is, Boucher not on the rotation. So that's going to be something that I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out, especially as the Raptors have their first back-to-back of the season, Friday into Saturday. So, yeah, that was very interesting to say the least. Raptors got out rebounded, which was expected. Like I said, they didn't shoot the ball well, but they shot it better than Minnesota, which was the difference. Got to the free throw line 16 times, made it 11. And then what continues to be a positive is the ball movement looks sharp. 27 assists on 36 made field goals. You just hope that continues because, as I said at the beginning, I have no worries about this team's defense. I think this defense is going to be good. Limiting Minnesota to under 100, that is solid. It's going to be this team's offense. If the offense can get it going, the Raptors are going to be just fine. And then the last thing I want to say here when looking at this game recap, Darko Rajakovic, man. I don't know if you guys saw the video. You probably have, but great job by Open Gym getting in there. Darko Rajakovic celebrating with the guy, saying, let's effing go. I mean, can we just appreciate this man's energy, what he brings to this team? Like, Darko Rajakovic single-handedly has restored the vibes on this squad. Like, he is like one of the players. Like, how pumped is he that he gets this win, first career win as a head coach, and he gets to celebrate with his teammates. And you can just tell from the players' reactions that they admire this guy. They respect the hell out of Darko, and it's a mutual thing, and it's evident. So I really love what I've seen from the continuity and the team chemistry, even beyond the win, the numbers, the defense, all that. Just the body language, the continuity, the team chemistry, like it's there, and you see it. So it's such a great thing to see, and I'm a huge Rajakovic guy. And the Raptors might have found a hidden gem in Rajakovic as he gets his first career win. And he's been in the NBA since 2014, but of course, first head coaching gig, and he gets the win in his first game. He's on cloud 9 right now. So the Raptors, they get the win, and they will take on the Chicago Bulls, which is a team that looks like to be a mess right now, on Friday. And then the big one, they have Nick Nurse and the Sixers on Saturday. That's going to be a fun one. Okay, so I didn't really get into Dennis Schroder as much as I did because I wanted to save it for now. So Dennis Schroder, I cannot tell you how happy I am with his performance and how much I think he's going to be a difference maker for this team. I said it on my personal channel. I made a take this offseason, which I feel pretty good about. I said that the move for Dennis Schroder is a potentially genius one. And what I mean by that is you look at the Raptors situation in the offseason, right? Okay. They mishandled it in a sense because you didn't get anything back directly for Fred VanVleet. And, you could have maybe traded him, even though it didn't seem like there was a whole ton you could get back. But you're going to look past the mishandling of it. We're way past that point. When you look at how the Raptors handled the situation, we're going to one day, I think, look back at it in terms of being a genius move where the Raptors don't get desperate. They don't try to overpay to bring back Fred VanVleet because obviously he got the bag in Houston. And then they go in a cheaper option of bringing in Dennis Schroder for 2 years, $26 million. A guy who is more of a traditional point guard in the sense, and is somebody who I think is the perfect fit to this Raptors personnel. And we've seen it already. You look at Dennis Schroder, he can do a lot of things well. And I mean, when was the last time the Raptors had a point guard with his quickness? Speed kills. Michael Grange said it. You probably got to go back to TJ Ford, the last time the Raptors had a point guard with this true speed. And we saw Dennis Schroder blowing by defenders, getting to the rim with ease. And that speed has just been such a breath of fresh air. And then you look at Schroder, the 7 assists, had 11 if you want to go back to the preseason. This is a guy who looks to get his teammates involved. And he's not going to be afraid to defer. He understands his role. This is not Team Germany. He's not going to be the main focal point of the offense. But funny enough, he ends up being the leading scorer of the night. But I think this is more about Schroeder's going to have nights like this, which is just a bonus. Not only is he going to do things well of, using his quickness, getting his teammates involved, holding his own defensively, which I think is an underrated part of his game, but then he's capable of breaking out offensively. 33 minutes, 8 of 17 from the field, 4 of 8 from 3. And this is somebody who, was expected to struggle mightily with his shot, particularly from three. Can Dennis Schroder have a breakout season, especially on the offensive end? Because I tell you, if he can be consistent with his offense and we know what else he's going to bring, the Raptors have a real bargain here for Dennis Schroder. And we're going to look back at this as being just a genius move that the Raptors made over time of bringing in Schroder for what they did, for as much as they did, and him just gelling so nicely with this team. And you can tell that he's got good relationships. He's smiling. He's got a really good relationship with Darko. Obviously, he spent some time with Darko when Darko was one of the assistants for OKC. And this is big for Schroder because this is a guy who came off the bench last season. He hasn't started in a while, and he is indeed the starting point guard on opening night. He will remain the starter. And I'm not gonna lie, I had my doubts going back and forth because obviously, like, we didn't know what Schroder's role was going to be. It was even teased that Barnes maybe was going to start at point guard with Gary Trent Jr. beside him. But I'm glad that it ended up being like this with Schroder being this team's point guard because I think he can continue to do a solid job. So I've really liked what I've seen from Schroder from the preseason to now. And Schroder must be on cloud nine because he's had such a nice offseason, getting the new contract, winning gold. And I wouldn't sleep on Dennis Schroder having a potential breakout season. And I think we're going to look back at the offseason as Dennis Schroder being one of the biggest, hidden gem signings, and the Raptors being on the good end of that. So Dennis Schroder, you hope he can continue to give you nights like this. And even if he doesn't, shoot the ball as well as he did, like I said, he can still do the other things well, which I think is just going to make him a good fit with this Raptors team. I mean, you don't need Dennis Schroder to drop 22 a game. If he does, that's bonus because you hope, Siakam and Barnes can have much better outings from the field. But hey, Dennis Schroder, he's capable of getting hot and capable of getting it going. And it was really nice to see that three ball get down because that is something that he has struggled with. And if that three ball starts to fall with consistency with Schroder, man, oh man, the Raptors are going to be in a good position. So I am happy from what I've seen with Schroder. And then to put the bow on this show, we are going to end with Scottie Barnes, his defensive impact. So Scottie Barnes, like I said, Darko Rajakovic said that he thinks he can one day be a defensive player of the year. And when you look at Scottie Barnes and his impact defensively, I mean, it is just great to see. Scottie Barnes, he's got great length. He's able to, guard so many positions. We saw it in that preseason game against the Bulls, guarding everybody from center to point guard. He's so versatile. And having a guy like that is so valuable to your team because if you need somebody to bang down low, guard a big, Scottie can do that. If you need a guy who's going to, keep up with the guards and try to contain them, Scottie can do that as well. And the 5 block shots, I mean, that is something special. And it's funny. I mean, it's only one game, but I mean, Scottie Barnes is probably in the lead for Defensive Player of the Year after one game, just with what we saw. Like, 5 block shots. Truly, truly amazing stuff. And, Darko Rajakovic said that he's going to do whatever it takes to get Scottie there. And I love this bond between them because Darko knows how talented Scottie Barnes is. And he's going to work with him to get the most out of Scottie. And, when you look at the Raptors' backbone, like I just said, I think it's going to be their defense. OG Anunoby, we know he's the ultimate 3-and-D guy. He's going to give it his all. He's always going to be a nightmare defensively. But now if Scottie can emerge as a second nightmare defender for the Raptors, like, that is just going to cause havoc for opposing teams. When you look at Barnes's potential, when you look at his defensive ceiling, it is just something that is exciting if you're a Raptors fan. So overall, Scottie Barnes didn't get it going with his shot, but the dude was still able to finish with 17. And like I said, you live with this. If Barnes doesn't get it going offensively, has nights like this, but he's a consistent staple on defense, and he always brings it on that end. And I think that's something that he's going to hang his hat on. I think it doesn't matter if Barnes has a terrible shooting night, even worse than the one that he had on opening night. He's going to always bring his A game when it comes to his defense, and that's all you can ask for. So I was really impressed overall with the Raptors defense. I was impressed with what OG was able to do, Barnes was able to do, and I think this is just telling of the Raptors, potentially exceeding expectations this season, and this team just being rejuvenated, it seems, with the small changes that they made. And I mean, they could be deemed small, but in essence, they could be deemed large. And is Darko Rajakovic the guy, the savior of this Raptor situation of not only getting the most out of this current team, out of the young guys like a Precious Achiuwa, Scottie Barnes, OG Anunoby, but is he the guy that puts the Raptors back on the map in relevancy? I mean, so far, the Raptors have not lost a game going back to the preseason. Like this team, yeah, they could look better. They haven't looked amazing, but they've looked good enough. And, you just hope that they can keep this going and they can get off to a good start. And the Raptors will have a chance to get off to a good start here because you look at their next 3 games, they're all winnable. Friday night against Chicago. Chicago's dysfunctional. There's already problems in the locker room after the first game of the season. Then you have Philly at home on Saturday. Philly's dealing with their own drama with James Harden, apparently revoking his access to the team plane. So they're not going to have him. They're going to be dealing with that. Nick Nurse already has a fiery situation to deal with. And then Monday, you're taking on the Portland Trailblazers, who expect to be one of the bottom teams. Super talented, but they're years away from competing. So, those are 3 excellent chances at wins. And I mean, you look at the Raptors here, they already got one under their belt. I thought this was the toughest one of their first couple games of the season, but you get this one. I mean, 3-1, dare I say a 4-0, not out of the realm of possibilities. Don't want to get too ahead of myself, but these next couple of games, very winnable for the Raptors, especially if they bring it defensively and set the tone on that end. So we will see how the Raptors look over the course of these next couple of games, but that is going to conclude today's show. Just wanted to run down some of the key points from the Raptors opening night. Obviously, nothing like opening night. Raptors basketball is officially back, and it's great to see. But Raptors Nation, what were your takeaways from the Raptors' first win? What are you most looking forward to seeing from here on out? Let me know your thoughts down below. Hit a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are watching this pod on YouTube. And again, if you are listening to this on Apple, iTunes, or Spotify, please leave us a 5-star review. It is greatly appreciated. That is it for me. This is Luca signing off. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, stay safe.